From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day, this is Dateline Malacañang, and here are the news. On the top story, aiming to address Metro Manila's traffic problem through a comprehensive and holistic approach to provide a long-term solution, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. convenes a public consultation dubbed Bagong Pilipinas or New Philippines Town Hall Meeting on traffic concerns in the city of San Juan. Several cabinet secretaries discussed the current problem from the perspective of national government agencies, while the Metropolitan Manila Development Authority, or MMDA, submits its synthesis of proposals to address the traffic situation in the National Capital Region, or NCR. Representatives of stakeholders from the transport groups, private and business sectors, and local government officials also participate in an open forum after listening to the presentations. Prior to today's town hall meeting, President Marcos Jr. instructed government agencies in a recent full cabinet meeting to gather more data on easing traffic congestion in Metro Manila while prioritizing workforce productivity, submit their recommendations on potential work setups and flexible work arrangement, how their respective offices will adjust, and how they will configure their work environment. He also announced in his recent vlog that the infrastructure projects are underway in the nearby provinces of Bulacan, Pampanga, Laguna, and Cavite that form part of the administration's long-term solution, as these will bring development to the areas and provide equal opportunities outside the metropolis. He appealed for understanding, since development projects may take some time to be completed and may add to the existing traffic woes, but assured the Filipino people that completion of these development projects will eventually bring relief from the gridlock. He said discipline, courteousness, respect, and obeying traffic rules are also key components in addressing traffic congestion within Metro Manila. Let us listen to Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Secretary Ben-Hur Abalos, please magsiupo po kayo. Andito rin po ang ating DPWH Secretary, Secretary Manny Bunuan, ang Transport Secretary, Secretary Jimmy Bautista, ang NEDA Secretary, nandito rin para planuhin ang long-term plan ng ekonomiya na napakalaki ang impact ng trapiko sa ating pagpaunlad at pagpalaki ng ating ekonomiya. Kaya siya ang gumagawa ng plano para sa next 5 years, next 10 years, next 20 years. Ito po ang ating NEDA Secretary, Secretary Arce Balisacan. Ang Metropolitan Manila Development Authority Chairman Romando Artes. Nandito ang host city natin, ang Mayor ng San Juan, Mayor Francisco Javier Zamora. Andito rin po lahat ng ating ibang mga alkalde sa iba't ibang bayan at lungsod ng Metro Manila na ating partner dito sa problemang itong hinaharap natin tungkol sa trapiko. Alam ko naman na sila ninanais din nila na maging mas maayos ang sitwasyon ng trapiko. Kaya nagpapasalamat ako na sila ay laging very supportive at very involved. At kung talagang meron silang naiisip, ay sinasabi naman talaga sa amin at kami naman ay hinahanap namin ng paraan upang matugunan ang mga problemang dinadala ninyo sa amin. At tinitingnan din namin dahil nagdadala naman sila ng solusyon. Ang solusyon tungkol na paano pwedeng gawin doon sa kanilang bawat lugar. So maraming salamat sa inyong tulong. The other members of government that are here today, We even have here the Department of Tourism, Secretary Cristina is here because traffic affects even the tourism department. Kaya napakalalim talaga ng problema nitong ating hinaharap. Dahil lahat halos ng ating ginagawa ay naapektuhan ng trapiko. Ang ekonomiya ng Pilipinas ay 60% ay nanggagaling from and around Metro Manila. Kaya pag sinasabi 3.5 billion ang nawawala sa atin araw-araw, hindi maliit na numero yun. Dahil hindi lamang dito sa Metro Manila, kung hindi sa lahat ng mga karatig na probinsya, ay nararamdaman din nila yung problema na yan. But that is the problem of Metro Manila. You have a population of 14 million during the night. It increases to 17 million, 18 million during the day. Kaya talagang napakalaki. We have to take care, we have to attend to not only the locals, hindi lamang yung mga tiga rito, hindi lamang yung mga tiga Metro Manila, kundi yung mga commuter na nanggagaling sa iba't ibang lugar na pumapasok sa Metro Manila upang magtrabaho. So that is the problem that we are facing. And kagaya ng marami po tayong napag-usapan ng mga iba't ibang estratehiya upang pagandahin ang sitwasyon. At kagaya ng aking nabanggit kanina, sa aking pananaw, sa aming pananaw, ay talaga naman na ang solusyon dyan ay pagandahin natin ang ating public transport system. Dahil kung wala tayong gagawin, dadagdag ang sasakyan sa Maynila. Habang may kaya na ang ating mga workers, ay bibili ng sasakyan yan. At dadami yan. At kahit gaano karaming kalsada ang lalagay natin, kahit karaming flyover, kahit gaano karaming bypass road ang gawin natin, hindi makakahabol yan. Kaya talagang kailangan tignan natin ang public transport para ito nga ay maging very efficient, mabilis, hindi public transport, hindi pagka-tren, subway, hindi tinatamaan ng traffic, di makakauwi kayo sa magandang oras, darating kayo sa trabaho sa tamang oras. All of these issues come together when we talk about traffic. In fact, noong unang briefing na binigay sa akin tungkol dito, nagulat nga ako na pati yung basura kasama sa issue ng traffic. Dahil kung nga naman, kung tayo yung dumadaan, ay nakikita natin kung saan na lang tinatambak ang basura. Ngunit, huwag natin sisisihin lamang yung mga nagtatambak ng basura. Kung wala silang ibang paglalagyan ng basura, wala tayong ibinigay sa kanilang basurahan, wala talaga silang gagawin kundi magtambak o basta itatapon na lang kung saan-saan. Kaya it has to be a very close cooperation between national government, the different agencies, the enforcement agencies, the local governments. Local governments is the most important. I have to say the national government can plan everything that we want, but we have to have the cooperation of the local governments to understand what the problems are in your place, what the possible solutions are, and how we bring it all together into one complete system which we can monitor and which we can regulate. Dahil ang traffic, hindi ganun kasimple. Sasabihin, dito maraming traffic, maglagay tayo ng kalsada dyan. Pagka alas 6 hanggang alas 8, matraffic yan. Pero iba, pag alas 4 hanggang alas 7, matraffic yan. Pero sa ibang oras ng araw, hindi naman matraffic. Kaya nagbabago rin. Kaya kailangan na monitor ng mabuti. At may direct natin yung traffic. Kaya kasama din natin ang mga traffic enforcers na kailangan talagang bigyan natin ng magandang training para maunawaan nila na mabuti kung ano yung pangangailangan dun sa kanilang, kung saan sila nilagay. Dahil paiba-iba nga sa bawat araw. Pag Sabado, iba na naman. Pag Linggo, iba na naman. Pag holiday, kagaya ngayon, iba na naman. Kaya kailangan natin maunawaan ito. At kapag may ginagawa sa isang lugar, alam dapat sa ibang lugar. Para sasabihin, dadami yung manggagaling ng Caloocan. Sabihin natin, sige, maganda tayo. Marami pumapasok galing Cavite. Ayan, gawa natin ang paraan. So all of this has to come together. And it affects the lives of all our people. Kasama na rin dyan yung ating health and safety. Dahil kapag talagang naiipit ang mga sasakyan ng ora-orada sa kalsada, dumadagdag naman ng pollution dito sa Maynila. Kaya kailangan talaga nating isipin na may pagkakomplikado itong sitwasyon na ito. Ngayon, kagaya ng sabi ko, we have to do long-term projects. Dahil kung pag sasabihin natin, dito lang may gagawin tayo dito terminal, may lalagay tayo ditong kalsada, pero hindi maaaring ganun. We cannot solve this problem on a piecemeal basis. We have to solve it again as a system. Anong kung paulit-ulit kong sinasabi, ngunit talagang kailangan pati nga basurahan kasama dito sa sistemang pinag-uusapan natin. Ang training ng ating mga traffic enforcers, kailangan pag-usapan natin. Ang right of way na laging problema ng public work, kailangan ng tulong ng LGU. Kaya talaga, we all have to work together to be more conscious of the problem of traffic. Hindi pwede yung solution itagpi-tagpi lang. Kailangan talaga, it has to be one solution. The other thing, isa pang bagay na napaka-importante tungkol sa trapiko, ang isa pang bagay na napaka-importante sa trapiko ay kailangan nating isipin hindi yung ngayon ang sitwasyon ng 2024. Kailangan nating isipin anong mangyayari in 5 years, anong mangyayari in 10 years. Dahil kadalasan, itong experience ko bilang gobernador, bilang senador, bilang congressman, nakikita natin, ang infrastruktura, ganito talaga. Kahit gaano karami ang ilalagay mong infrastruktura, maglagay ka ng power, maglagay ka ng kalsada, maglagay ka ng farm to market, lahat yan. Sasabihin mo, good na yan, okay na yan for the next 10 years. Hindi totoo yan. 3 taon pa lang yan, puno na yan. I'm sure the LGU, the mayors will agree with me. Kahit anong ilagay mo, mapupuno yan. Kaya natin kailangan planuhin na mabuti ang ating ginagawa. The other lesson that I have learned in the time that we are doing infrastructure projects is that ang infrastructure project ay hindi para sa ngayong araw lang na ito. You are going to live with those infrastructure projects for 80 years on average. Kaya we have to be thinking, very forward thinking in our planning, our city planning. How do we decongest? What will be the increase? Where do we plan to put the new manufacturing centers? Where are we going? How do we service our eco zones? All of this have to be taken into account. And Manila, Metro Manila, is still at the center of all our economic activity. Now, when it comes to traffic, we are hoping to do as much as we can ngayon dito sa Metro Manila. And hopefully, that's many of the lessons that we will learn here in Metro Manila we will be able to apply in places like Cebu City, where also the problem of traffic is pretty bad. Davao also has a big problem on traffic, and other urban centers around the Philippines have the problem of traffic. So we have to begin. We must now understand how to solve the problem of traffic. And it is so multifaceted, it is so complicated, there are so many stakeholders. But nonetheless, it is a job that we have to do. We have to coordinate, we have to listen to all the stakeholders, the LGUs, the operators and drivers, the traffic enforcers, the infrastructure, the economic development, the transport systems. All of these have to come together. Otherwise, hindi talaga mangyayari. Mahihirapan pa rin tayo. Kaya kailangan magtulungan tayong lahat para mabigyan naman natin, matugunan natin itong napakalaking problema. At hindi, there's no use trying to underplay the importance of the severity of the problem that traffic brings to us. Kaya we have to prioritize this problem. We have to prioritize the solutions to this problem. It is so important for the quality of life of our people. It is so important for the growth of our economy. It is so important for the balanced development of the entire country. Wag lang sa Metro Manila lahat. I-decongest din natin. Para dalhin naman natin sa ibang lugar ang development. At hindi naman mangyayari yun hanggat may infrastruktura tayong dinadala. So, it will take all of us here, all of you who represent different organizations, it will take all of us working well together to be able to mitigate. We will never solve the problem of traffic because we are growing. But we can mitigate the effects of traffic, lower the cost of travel, make it more efficient, make it more quick, para naman ang ating mga manggagawa ay hindi ganong nahihirapan. Kaya inaasahan po namin ang inyong tulong, inaasahan namin ang inyong kooperasyon at ang pag-coordinate sa national government upang malutas natin itong napakalaking problema na ito. Maraming salamat sa inyong pagdating dito sa ating town hall meeting. Maraming salamat sa inyong mga nabigay na observation tungkol nga sa mga sitwasyon na hinaharap ninyo. Sana nga hindi kayo magsawa na patuloy ang pagtulong sa amin upang mapaganda natin ang situation ng traffic dito sa Metro Manila. At pag natuto na tayo, dadalhin natin sa iba't ibang mga lungsod sa Pilipinas. Maraming salamat po. Magandang umaga po sa inyo lahat.
Maraming salamat po, mahal.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Tuesday led the ceremonial turnover of housing units to 216 informal settler families or ISFs at the town of Tenejero in Balanga City, Bataan Province. Led by National Housing Authority or NHA General Manager Joe Bentay, the NHA Balanga City Low-Rise Housing Project features 6 condominium-style buildings that will benefit relocated ISFs from along the Talisay River. In his speech during the turnover, the president said the NHA will soon start constructing mid-rise buildings that can house more people. Each unit, measuring 27 square meters, is equipped with 2 bedrooms, a kitchen, toilet, bath, and fully operational water and power supply. The housing project is part of President Marcos's commitment to the Bagong Pilipinas brand of governance and leadership by building 1.3 million houses each year to address the country's 6 million housing backlog. Let us listen to the speech of Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Maraming salamat sa inyong mainit sa pagtanggap. Hindi lang sa init talaga, pero ngunit napakainit ng pagtanggap ninyo sa akin dito sa Balanga City, Bataan. Nagagalak ako na personal na masaksihan ang pamamahagi ng 216 na pabahay sa ating mga benepisyaryo. Para sa kaalaman ng lahat, ang NHA Balanga City Low-Rise Housing Project ay bahagi ng ating patuloy na pagsisikap upang bigyan ng maayos na tahanan ang bawat mamamayang Pilipino. Ang mga low-rise buildings na ito ay tinayo gamit ang mga makabagong teknolohiya. Kaya naman, ang bawat pamilyang maninirahan dito ay makakatiyak sa tibay at katatagan nito. At pinag-uusapan natin yung low-rise ay yung susunod natin na gagawin. Ito, 3 stories ito. Ang susunod gagawin 5 na. So, mid-rise na yon ang tawag dyan para makarami tayo. Isa sa mga pangunahing pangangailangan ng bawat pamilya ang magkaroon ng sariling tahanan. Ito marahil ang pinakamahalaga, lalo na para sa mga kababayan nating nakatira sa mga mapanganib na lugar. Bahagi ng katungkulan natin na mailikas sila muna sa delikadong lugar tulad ng mga daluyan na daluyan ng ilog. Nagsikap po ang gobyerno na mabigyan sila ng maayos at ligtas na tahanan na matatawag nilang sarili. Ang mga benepisyaryo natin ngayon dito sa Balanga ay inilikas natin mula sa kahabaan ng ilog ng Talisay. Sa loob ng maraming taon, umarap kayo sa peligrong dala ng pagtira sa tabi ng ilog. Kaya narito tayo upang bigyan ng lunas ang kanilang suliranin. Kayo ngayon ay maninirahan sa sariling bahay na ligtas, dekalidad at komportable. Ngayon pa lamang po ay binabati ko na ang ating mga benepisaryo ng congratulations sa pagsisimula ng panibagong yugto ng inyong buhay. Ito pong pabahay ay handog ng pamahalaan para sa inyong pamilya. Mahalin at ingatan natin ito mabuti upang magsilbi itong pundasyon ng inyong mga pangarap at magagandang kinabukasan. Naway inyo rin pagyamanin ang komunidad dito upang sabay-sabay kayong umuunlad at gumiginhawa. Narito ang inyong pamahalaan, lalong-lalo na ang lokal na pamahalaan ng Balanga, ang panlalawigang pamahalaan ng Bataan upang gabayan kayo sa lahat ng oras. Makakaasa rin po kayo na lahat ng sambayan ng Pilipina sa ilalim ng pambansang pabahay para sa Filipino Housing Program o yung tinatawag naming 4PH program, patuloy ang pagpupursige ng pamahalaan upang mabigyan ng maayos na tahanan ang ating mga kababayan. Ngunit ito talaga, alam nyo po, nung kahapon galing po ako sa Bacolod at kami naman ang may yung mga agrarian reform beneficiaries. At nabanggit ko ron, sinabi ko sa lahat ng katungkulan ko bilang Pangulo, sabi ko yan na yata ang isa sa paborito kong katungkulan dahil sa tagal na nag-antay ng ating mga agrarian reform beneficiaries, sa wakas ay nag-antay sila 30 taon. Sa wakas ay nabigyan na sila ng titulo. Ngayon, idadagdag ko na rin na isa sa pinakapaborito kong katungkulan ay dumating dito sa ganitong klaseng mga proyekto upang masasabi natin na ang pamahalaan ay talagang nagbibigay ng serbisyo sa taong bayan sa pamamagitan ng ganitong klaseng mga pabahay, hindi lamang dito sa Bataan, kung hindi sa buong Pilipinas. Sa pangunguna ni DSUD Secretary Jerry Acusar at ang GM ng NHA, Joe Bentay, tiyak naman ako na makakamit natin ang mga layunin natin. Marami pa tayong ipapatayong bahay, kaya inaasahan ko ang inyong patuloy na suporta at pagsusumikap. Muli, binabati ko ang ating mga benepisyaryo at hangad ko ang ikauunlad ng inyong pamumuhay. Sama-sama tayong tumungo sa isang maliwanag at masaganang bagong Pilipinas.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. visited the Renal Dialysis Center of the Veterans Memorial Medical Center or VMMC in Quezon City and donated 150 million Philippine peso for the procurement of a magnetic resonance imaging or MRI machine. VMMC's dialysis center caters to over 200 patients composed of World War II veterans and retired military personnel and their dependents, providing service and medicines free of charge. During his visit, the President toured the center and met with its staff comprising 9 doctors and 27 nurses. In a social media post, the chief executive said he was excited for the new MRI at VMMC, ensuring the delivery of expert care for veterans and their families. As to the President's financial grant to the hospital, the Philippine Department of National Defense or DND requested the 150 million Philippine peso funding for the procurement of a 1.5 Tesla MRI machine for the VMMC after its sole MRI machine acquired in 2011 became unserviceable last year. The donation came from the President's Social Fund, according to the Presidential Communications Office. Established in 1955, the VMMC is primarily tasked to provide quality hospitalization, medical care, and treatment to Filipino war veterans and retired Armed Forces of the Philippines or AFP personnel.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Philippines Department of Migrant Workers or DMW reported that Filipinos injured in the magnitude 7.2 earthquake that hit Taiwan on April 3rd has increased. In an ex-post, DMW officer in charge, Undersecretary Hans Leo Kakdak, said 2 more overseas Filipino workers or OFWs were injured, wherein one got wounds on his left feet while the other got wounds on his left hand. Because of this, a total of 11 OFWs were injured during the quake. According to the DMW, all injured OFWs were given medical attention and are currently recovering in their company's dormitories. Along with the Migrant Workers Office or MW in Taipei, the DMW assured continuous monitoring of Filipinos in the country and is ready to provide assistance when needed. Earlier, the agency sent a 6-member augmentation team to Taiwan to provide psychosocial and mental wellness support to affected OFWs.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Wednesday extended his warm greetings to Muslim communities in the Philippines and globally on Eid al-Fitr. The president emphasized the festival's significance for spiritual renewal after Ramadan's month-long observance of prayer, sacrifice, and penance. President Marcos called for unity amidst diversity, envisioning a progressive nation where love, faith, and oneness prevail over division. Eid al-Fitr is an Islamic holiday that marks the end of the month-long dawn to sunset fasting of Ramadan. The chief executive, through proclamation number 514, following the recommendation from the National Commission on Muslim Filipinos or NCMF, declared April 10 a regular holiday throughout the Philippines for the observance of the Islamic holiday of Eid al-Fitr.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Philippine Department of Social Welfare and Development or DSWD is ramping up efforts to implement its Project Lawa at Binhi or local adaptation to water access and breaking insufficiency through nutritious harvest for the impoverished nationwide this year amid the intensifying effects of the El Niño phenomenon. The SWD Assistant Secretary for Disaster Response Management Group and co-spokesperson Irene Dumlao in a news release said the DSWD aims to roll out Project Lawa at Binhi in 310 municipalities, including urban centers and in 61 provinces across 16 regions to mitigate the impact of El Niño on the most vulnerable sectors of society. She said through Project Lawa at Binhi, the DSWD seeks to address the multifaceted challenges posed by water scarcity and food insecurity. For this scaled-up, more than 140,906 families or an estimated 704,530 individuals are expected to benefit from at least 1,319 target water harvesting facilities that will cover some 6,630 hectares of agricultural land. Under Project Lawa, the DSWD focuses on enhancing water access and management in communities prone to drought and water shortages by constructing small farm reservoirs, repairing or rehabilitating water harvesting facilities, and diversifying water supplies, among others. On the other hand, Project Binhi aims to promote food security and nutrition among communities by facilitating the adoption of climate-resilient and sustainable agriculture practices such as communal and urban gardening, vermicomposting, and planting of disaster-resilient crops, fruit-bearing trees, and mangroves, among others. Dumlao said the DSWD initially implemented Project Lawa in 9 local government units in Ifugao, Antique, and Davao de Oro provinces, establishing 90 small farm reservoirs, which benefited some 4,590 families in 2023. She said Projects Lawa at Binhi jointly aim to strengthen the adaptive capabilities of poor and vulnerable families during periods of severe drought, ultimately mitigating the impact of food security and water scarcity brought about by climate change. The two projects are being implemented under the DSWD's Risk Resiliency Program through cash for training and work.
Dateline Malacañang.
The primary service providers for the May 2025 midterm elections are expected to perform their best and not be lured by any attempt to taint the polls. The Commission on Elections, or COMELEC, awarded a full automation system with transparency, audit, or count, or fast track, and the Secure Electronic Transmission Services, or SETS projects, or SETS projects, worth 17 billion pesos and 1.6 billion pesos respectively to Miro Company Limited and joint venture I1 Resources Incorporated, Ardent Networks, or I1 Ardent. COMELEC Chairperson George Erwin Garcia said that the notice of award would be signed on Thursday. Garcia said they expect that once the contract is finalized, the service firms would provide quality services so they can join future biddings even in other government agencies. Meanwhile, the COMELEC is also holding pre-bid conferences for the supply and delivery of indelible stain ink for 2025. The procurement project has an approved budget of 89.9 million Philippine peso for 438,248 bottles of ink. Prospect bids can be submitted on or before April 24.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Philippine Land Transportation, Franchising and Regulatory Board, or LTFRB, reminded operators of public utility vehicles, or PUV, about the consolidation deadline on April 30 set by Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. In a statement, LTFRB Chair Teofilo Guadis III said the extension on consolidation granted by the President would be the last. PUV operators who fail to consolidate will have their franchises revoked by the LTFRB. PUV consolidation, he said, is the first phase of the PUV Modernization Program, or PUVMP, and will be followed by fleet management as the second phase. In January, President Marcos Jr. extended the consolidation deadline for PUVs after clamors from unconsolidated PUV operators. The 3-month extension aims to grant an opportunity to those who expressed the intention to consolidate but did not make the previous deadline.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Land Transportation, Franchising and Regulatory Board, or LTFRB, has postponed indefinitely the awarding of an additional 10,000 Transport Network Vehicle Service, or TNVS units, after opposition from transport groups due to fears of worsening traffic congestion in Metro Manila. In a statement, LTFRB Chair Teofilo Guadis III said the previously announced increase was meant to provide more jobs for Filipinos. However, he said the additional units have been postponed until a study determines the sufficient number of TNVS vehicles needed in Metro Manila. He noted that the previous administration calculated that the maximum capacity for TNVS in Metro Manila is 65,000 units. On Monday, the LTFRB announced that the additional 8,000 slots for motorcycle taxis will be awarded outside the National Capital Region, or NCR, after the Coalition of Transport Sectors appealed to the President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. to stop the expansion of the MC taxi study in the NCR due to its adverse effects on traffic.
Dateline Malacañang.
Finally, for Dateline Malacañang, New Zealand Prime Minister Christopher Luxon will travel to the Philippines together with a senior business delegation next week, his office announced. The New Zealand government said Luxon would meet with Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. and scope more opportunities for Kiwi businesses while in the country. His Manila visit is part of his 3 Southeast Asian nation tour from April 14 to 20. Luxon will be coming from Singapore and Thailand. The New Zealand Foreign Affairs and Trade Ministry earlier identified renewable energy, environmental and social deliverables, and back office support and skilled labor as areas of significant potential for New Zealand businesses in the country. Apart from a business delegation, New Zealand Minister of Climate Change and Revenue Simon Watts and Paulo Garcia, New Zealand's first Filipino member of parliament, will accompany Luxon to Manila. This will be the first dedicated visit by a New Zealand Prime Minister to the Philippines in the past 14 years, according to his office.
Dateline Malacañang.
And that is all for today's Dateline Malacañang for Radyo Pilipinas World Service. This has been Bea Gaza.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.